Good morning. I'm the mainly digger, and today I'm not digging. Ground's still frozen. Snow is still on the ground, which isn't really a big issue, and there's not a lot of it, but the ground is frozen. So I'm going to do a video about the Benedict Arnold expedition through Maine to get to Quebec, to lay siege to Quebec City, which there was a small British fort there. If you don't know who Benedict Arnold was, he was a traitor. But before he was a traitor, he was a patriot. Sorry, my phone was slipping. The duct tape's not working. He was a traitor. But he was a patriot also before he was a traitor. And this was the tipping point for him. I believe this was the tipping point for him. And this is what the British used to bring him over to their side. It was, needless to say, the expedition failed. Their task, their purpose, they failed. They failed bad. But I'm just trying to explain this to people because, like, no one taught it to me, even in Maine, in schools. It wasn't even brought up. Like, it was a big thing. If you didn't know, Benedict Arnold was a general, an officer during the Revolutionary War. He had a lot of victories. I'm not going over that right now. But a huge part of history, and it's not taught, even in the Maine school system. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to go over a little bit. Already mentioned Benedict Arnold. The expedition started in Massachusetts. From Massachusetts, they floated over to Maine on boats, on two big boats. They landed, and 1,100 soldiers, troops, landed on Swan Island. From Swan Island, they went to Dresden, Maine, which is just off the coast. Swan Island's it's an island off the coast of Maine. Dresden, Pittston is around Gardner, Maine. Gardner, Maine is just, if you're driving, is about 20 minutes from Augusta, which is below Augusta. From Pittston, they went up the Kennebec, and I'll explain why I'm smiling and laughing. They went up the Kennebec to Fort Western, which is Augusta. A great place to visit. Not Augusta. Augusta is kind of one of those day trips that you stay somewhere else. But Fort Western is a great place to visit, a lot of history, and they explain everything well. They have historical tours that you go on that'll explain the fort and different things. It's a fun place to go. From there, they went to Fort Halifax, which is Waterville. There's nothing really there. It's a historical site, but there's not a lot there. But what is there is the Teutonic Falls, which is named after the chief of the Native American or Indian tribe that was in the area at the time. They had issues, not with the Native Americans, but it's a falls. They had to find a way around. They took different routes to get around the falls, the Teutonic Falls, which isn't hard to do because there's a lot of waterways, there's a lot of streams, there's a lot of ways to get around that area, in that area. So after that, they had to do the same thing in Norwich and Skowhegan, Norwich, and Madison, which are all, the Kennebec River flows through, but there's still a lot of falls. There's still a lot of things to get around. So either they had to port or get out of their boats and haul their boats around the falls or the obstruction in the riverway, which there wasn't a lot. I don't know. That could have been different, but there's a lot of obstructions in the riverway now. Anyway, so after they hit Madison, after they passed Skowhegan, Madison, and Norwich, they went to what they call the Great Carrying Place, where they had to port a great distance. 12 miles of carrying boats. These aren't normal boats. These aren't like fiberglass. They're wood boats, flat bottom boats. They were made out of green wood, which is not the best idea, which is very dumb because they leak. They didn't have dry wood at the time. They threw this expedition together and they just went up. And I'll explain the lack of planning later. From there, well, even the Great Carrying Place is, like I said, is where they ported, but it's a part of the Appalachian Trail now. It is 12 miles. It's a very beautiful hike. I would hate to do it with boats and gear, and it's just a horrible lot. Anyway, so from there, they hiked or ported all their boats to Lake Majestic. I've never been there. From Lake Majestic, and I'm just gonna spell this name out. They went to Chaudie River and descended on Quebec. From once they got to Quebec, they tried to lay siege. It didn't work. They went from 1,100 to 600, starving, sick, probably had dysentery, like starving soldiers. Like they didn't have the strength to fight. Literally were eating the boots, the leather off their boots. The officer's dog, Benedict Arnold's dog, beloved dog, they killed him and Benedict Arnold ate the dog. That's how bad it was. It was horrible. Like it was just a horribly planned expedition. And as a military, like obviously I'm in the military, like this is bad. Like it horribly planned. First of all, the Kennebec, we'll start out. First of all, Maine is rugged. Maine is the most rugged weather, climate. I wouldn't say the most, but it is rugged. There's hills, there's mountains, there's hills that look like mountains. There's the wild, the wilderness. And they had Native Americans that extremely hostile. Like the British pissed them off so much before the Revolutionary War with trade deals, trade agreements, the French and Indian War. Hostile, very hostile. So like them to be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go through the Maine wilderness, going upstream, going up the Kennebec, and expecting to like, we're gonna lay siege. No, it was not well planned at all. It was just dumb. It was just a dumb idea. Like I understand why, and this is all my opinion. I understand why they wanted to go to Quebec. That is a good idea. Going through Maine with the maps that they had and with the expectation that, yeah, we'll meet up with another one of our forces and then we're gonna lay siege to Quebec. No, it was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. Another side note, one of the boat builder that came up with these boats was from what they called Gardner Town, which is Gardner in Maine. There's a couple of historic places along the way on the Kennebec. Fort Western's still there. Fort Halifax it's not there, but it's there. There in Augusta, I forgot what the house is called, but it's where Benedict Arnold planned the expedition, some of the expedition into Maine. It's really just an old house. It's a museum. It's right on the Quebec. It's cool to go to. It's cool to visit. It's not Fort Western though. Fort Western's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a piss poor planning. Like whoever the good idea fairy like was, I think it was Benedict Arnold. Like no, horribly planned. But like I don't know. I like when I'm older, I want to take a motorized boat and take the route that they took, and see, try to go to metal detecting on the different areas that aren't historical properties. But yeah, I love like this part of history. I love learning about the history of it. Different, even if they failed, still love learning about it. Because you don't hear. I've never heard. Like, the only time I've heard about the Arnold expedition is on my own. Like, look, going on the internet and be like, it's Maine History, and boom, it's there. Stuff you didn't know. I didn't know about this. I didn't know about his failure. I knew he was a traitor, but like, I didn't know why. And like, it's good to see a different perspective. Like, why did he go? He was a patriot. He was an honorable person. And then he just decided to be a traitor. I didn't understand why, and now I do. I understand why this expedition played an important part in his treachery. Like I said, the British used this as leverage to be like, well, you didn't have the supplies. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. It was actually a well-planned, expedition, but you didn't have the supplies. You didn't have the troops. But we do. Come on over to our side. And it's like, he's still a traitor. But, it's just interesting, I guess. All right, I'm done. Mainly dig out. Done talking. Y'all have a good day.